Somewhere in the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University, a small book sits behind glass. It is 240 pages long. It was written by hand, carefully, deliberately, with intention. It contains detailed illustrations of plants no botanist has ever identified. It describes astronomical diagrams that match no known star chart. It depicts women bathing in strange biological pools connected by impossible tubes. And every single word, every single one, is written in a language that no human being alive today can read. Not linguists, not cryptographers, not the code breakers who cracked Nazi Enigma, not artificial intelligence trained on the entire written history of mankind. No one. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and for over 600 years, it has defeated everyone who has tried to understand it. Who wrote it? Why? And what on earth does it say? The year is 1912. A Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich is browsing a collection of rare manuscripts at the Villa Mondragone, a Jesuit estate outside Rome, when something stops him cold. Tucked among hundreds of ordinary documents is a small, handwritten book unlike anything he has ever seen. The pages are thick and creamy, vellum, made from animal skin, not paper. The handwriting is confident and fluid. But the text is completely illegible. Not in Latin, not in Arabic, not in any alphabet he recognizes. And the illustrations are extraordinary. Intricate plants with roots that spiral in impossible directions. Naked figures immersed in green liquid. Circular diagrams that look like something between an astronomical chart and a fever dream. Voynich bought the manuscript immediately. He had no idea he had just acquired one of the most enduring unsolved puzzles in human history. Radiocarbon dating, conducted centuries later in 2009 by the University of Arizona, placed the creation of the vellum itself between approximately 1404 and 1438. That is not when the text was written. Vellum could be prepared in advance, but it gives us a firm historical window. The Voynich manuscript originated in the early to mid-15th century. Medieval Europe, a world of alchemists, astrologers, and whispered secrets. But before Voynich found it, where had it been? A letter discovered inside the manuscript, written in 1666 by a Bohemian physician named Georg Baresch, tells us the book had already passed through multiple hands. Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, a man obsessed with the occult and the mysterious, reportedly purchased it in the late 1500s. Rudolph paid the equivalent of 600 gold ducats, a staggering price that suggests he believed it was something extraordinary. After Rudolph, the trail grows murky. It passed through alchemists and scholars, disappeared into Jesuit archives for centuries, and finally surfaced in that Roman estate where Voynich found it. When Voynich died, the manuscript passed to a series of private collectors, and eventually, in 1969, it was donated to Yale's Voynich Library, where it remains today, catalogued under the deliberately ambiguous name MS408. 600 years, dozens of owners, and still, no one has read a single word. To understand why the Voynich manuscript is so remarkable, you need to understand what is actually inside it. Researchers have divided the manuscript into 6 distinct sections, each one stranger than the last. The first is called the herbal section. It contains illustrations of plants, dozens of them, rendered with careful detail. Roots, stems, leaves, flowers. But here is the problem. Botanists and biologists have examined every single one of these plants, and the vast majority match nothing in nature. They are not real plants, or they are plants so altered, so stylized, that identification is impossible. A handful share loose resemblances to known species, but even those are contested. The second section deals with astronomy. Circular diagrams filled with stars, concentric rings, what appear to be zodiac symbols. The imagery is reminiscent of medieval European astronomical manuscripts, but the arrangements do not correspond to any known star chart or astronomical system. The third section is perhaps the most unsettling. It shows human figures, almost always women, immersed in pools and tubs connected by an elaborate network of pipes and channels. The liquid is green or blue. The figures seem calm, even serene. Are these medical diagrams? Alchemical processes? Something else entirely? No one agrees. The fourth section contains more circular diagrams, possibly cosmological, possibly biological. The fifth is a short section of text without illustrations, laid out in neat columns, that some researchers have called a pharmacological index. The sixth section circles back to plants and biological imagery. Throughout all of it, the text flows continuously. Whatever it is saying, whoever wrote it was not making it up as they went. The handwriting is confident, consistent. The ink distribution is even. This is not the work of someone scribbling nonsense. And therein lies the deepest mystery. Because when linguists and cryptographers began to analyze the text itself, they found something genuinely astonishing. The language, whatever it is, follows rules. There are patterns, letter frequencies, word length distributions. Something called entropy, a measure of information density that falls squarely within the range of natural human languages. Certain words appear again and again in ways that mirror how real languages repeat common vocabulary. Some words appear almost exclusively in certain sections, as if specific terminology is being used in specific contexts. This is not random. This is not meaningless scrawl. Something is being communicated. But what? To solve the mystery of what the Voynich Manuscript says, perhaps we first need to ask who wrote it and why. The honest answer is, we do not know, but we have suspects. The most tantalizing early theory centered on Roger Bacon, a 13th century English friar and philosopher who was a genuine pioneer of empirical science and reportedly experimented with encryption. Wilfred Voynich himself believed it was Bacon's work, but the radiocarbon dating ruled this out almost entirely. Bacon died around 1292. The vellum was made at least a century later. Another theory, which gained significant traction in certain circles, pointed to John Dee, the famous Elizabethan mathematician, astrologer, and occultist who served Queen Elizabeth I. Dee was known to deal in rare manuscripts and had connections to the Prague court of Rudolf II. But again, the dating makes his authorship unlikely. Dee was born in 1527. The manuscript predates him. Some historians have suggested the manuscript may be the work of a 15th century scholar in northern Italy, someone fluent in the visual language of medieval herbalism and astronomy, attempting to record knowledge in a coded or constructed script. perhaps to protect it from the Inquisition or to guard trade secrets. Others have proposed that it emerged from communities on the fringes of medieval European society. Jewish scholars writing in a hybrid language, or travelers recording knowledge from beyond Europe's cultural borders. What we can say with reasonable confidence is this: the manuscript was almost certainly produced in Europe in the early 15th century. The artistic style of the illustrations is consistent with European medieval art of that period. The vellum composition supports this. The book is physically European, but the language, that is where Europe ends and mystery begins. Slow, with weight. Over the past century, a remarkable parade of brilliant minds has attempted to decode the Voynich Manuscript. William Newbold, a philosopher at the University of Pennsylvania, announced in 1921 that he had cracked it. He claimed the manuscript was written by Roger Bacon, using a microscopic shorthand visible only under magnification. He presented elaborate translations involving descriptions of biological cells and galaxies. Scholars were initially stunned. Then they examined his methodology. His translations were found to be, in the polite language of academia, entirely unreliable. The microscopic markings he had decoded were nothing more than natural cracks in the aged ink. His translations were projections of his own imagination. Curious. In the 1940s, William Friedman, one of the greatest cryptanalysts in American history, the man who broke the Japanese purple cipher during World War II, devoted years to the Voynich Manuscript. He assembled a team of colleagues. They worked systematically, rigorously. They produced nothing definitive. Friedman eventually concluded that the manuscript might be written in a synthetic or constructed language, an artificial system invented to express ideas. But he could not prove it, and he could not read it. Decade after decade, expert after expert, the manuscript yielded nothing. Emotional. There is something quietly humbling about this. We live in an age of remarkable intellectual power. We have decoded ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. We have reconstructed lost languages from fragments of clay. We have mapped the human genome and split the atom. And yet this small book, assembled by a single unknown person with a quill and some animal skin, has outlasted every attempt to understand it. Slow. That is not a small thing. Confident, engaging. So, what are the leading explanations today? There are essentially three camps, and each deserves serious consideration. The first, the manuscript is written in a real, unknown language, or a highly encoded version of a known one. Proponents of this view point to the statistical properties of the text, the entropy measurements, the consistent word patterns. They argue that no forger or hoaxer working in the 15th century without access to modern linguistic analysis could have fabricated something that so closely mimics the mathematical signature of natural language. Something real is being said. We simply lack the key. Building tension. The second theory, it is an elaborate, sophisticated hoax. Someone, a clever, possibly desperate individual, created a book designed to appear meaningful in order to sell it to wealthy collectors like Rudolph II. This theory gained a serious academic champion in 2003 when Gordon Rugg, a professor of psychology and computer science at Keele University, demonstrated that a 15th century device called a Cardan grill could be used to generate pseudo-random text with exactly the statistical properties found in the Voynich script. In other words, it might be possible to fake it. Whether it was actually faked is a different question. A third, more recent theory proposed by Gerard Cheshire in 2019, attracted enormous media attention. Cheshire claimed the manuscript was written in Proto-Romance, a lost predecessor to the modern Romance languages, by a Dominican nun, and that he had translated substantial portions. His claims were rapidly and extensively criticized by linguists and medieval language scholars, who found his methodology deeply flawed. Most specialists do not accept his translation reflective. And then there are the fringe theories: extraterrestrial origins, communication from lost civilizations, mystical sources. These theories, to be clear, are not supported by credible evidence, but they speak to something real, the almost supernatural frustration the manuscript inspires. When rational explanations fail repeatedly, the human mind reaches for the impossible. That is not a weakness. That is a measure of how profound the mystery truly is. Curious, forward-looking. In the 21st century, science has turned new eyes on the manuscript. The 2009 radiocarbon dating gave us our firmest historical anchor. The vellum was definitively placed in the early 15th century, narrowing the probable creation window to between roughly 1404 and 1450. Chemical analysis of the inks and pigments has confirmed they are consistent with materials available in medieval Europe during that period. The blue pigment, for instance, matches ultramarine derived from lapis lazuli, a mineral traded across medieval Europe. The iron gall ink is typical of the era. Nothing in the physical composition of the book is anachronistic. Whatever mysteries it contains, it is not a modern forgery. Building tension. In 2017, researchers from the University of Alberta applied artificial intelligence and pattern recognition to the Voynich script. Their system suggested that the underlying language might have statistical similarities to Hebrew written without vowels, a writing convention used in some medieval Hebrew texts. The paper was intriguing, but far from conclusive, and the broader scholarly community received it with measured caution. In 2019, a separate team led by Greg Kondrak used machine learning trained on 380 languages to analyze the manuscript. Their model suggested Arabic as a possible underlying language, but when they attempted to apply this to actual translation using the most probable Arabic correspondences, the results were largely incoherent, suggestive but not a solution. Slow. As of today, no artificial intelligence system has decoded the manuscript in any way that has survived scholarly scrutiny. That sentence deserves a moment to sit. In an era when AI can write poetry, compose music, diagnose diseases, and predict protein structures, it cannot read this book. Dramatic pause. Perhaps it is not a language at all. Perhaps it is a language so thoroughly encrypted that even modern computation cannot find the pattern. Or perhaps the pattern it encodes is something our frameworks are not designed to recognize. We do not yet know. Emotional, reflective. There is a question worth asking at this point, not about the manuscript, but about us. Why do we care so much? It is, after all, a single book, 240 pages. It has no confirmed history of influencing science, religion, or politics. It has produced no verified knowledge. No discovery has hinged upon it, and yet it draws scholars, amateurs, cryptographers, linguists, historians, artists, and dreamers back again and again across generations. Soft. Perhaps it is because the Voynich Manuscript reminds us that not everything yields to intelligence, that the universe still holds rooms we cannot enter, that even in an age saturated with information, some doors remain locked. Or perhaps it is something more personal. Every human culture that has ever existed has left behind things we do not fully understand. Cave paintings whose meaning we can only guess at. Songs whose words are lost. Prayers addressed to gods whose names we have forgotten. The Voynich Manuscript is, in some ways, the most legible of all lost things, because it exists, intact in front of us, and still will not speak. Reflective. Somewhere in the early 1400s, a person, a real, living person, with thoughts and desires and reasons, sat down and put this book together. They believed what they were writing was worth preserving. They spent enormous time and care doing it. They wanted it to last. It lasted, and we cannot hear a single word they said. Long pause. Very soft, intimate, like the final moments of a great film. The Voynich Manuscript will likely be decoded one day. Or perhaps it will not. Perhaps it is a language that died with its creator, the last speaker of a private internal world that no one else was ever meant to enter. Perhaps it is a cipher whose key was burned, or lost, or buried with someone whose name we will never know. Perhaps the drawings of those impossible plants are memories of places that no longer exist. Perhaps the women in the pools are part of a ritual that left no other record. Perhaps the circular diagrams map a cosmos that one medieval mind believed in absolutely and carried alone to the grave. Slow. What we know for certain is this. Somewhere in New Haven, Connecticut, in a climate-controlled library behind glass, sits a book that has outlived every empire, every dynasty, every government, and every expert who has ever attempted to master it. It has waited 600 years. It is not in a hurry. Whisper. And somewhere, perhaps, the answer is still waiting too. Music swells gently, then fades to silence. Outro, warm but restrained, not promotional. If questions like this one, questions that have haunted the smartest minds across centuries, are the kind that keep you awake at night too, then you are exactly the kind of person we make these for. There are more stories like this one, buried in libraries, locked in archives, waiting in the margins of history. If you want to be there when we find them, subscribing takes 5 seconds. Until next time, end card, music out.